Hello and welcome back to my RP-1 playthrough on hard. So last night we orbited our first scientific satellite and we managed to put it in polar orbit as well. We've queued up this biocapsule launch, which I've accepted, and we are training Paul Carlson.
Hey there.
Hey! Thanks for coming by. Glad it's actually the timing worked.
Cool, yeah. And it's not super late, so that's great.
Yeah, no, I gotta make an early night of it anyway, so that works well for both of us.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah, and also that like I didn't have anything that I had to commit before I started, which is usually why it's a late night.
Oh, no worries.
Because that's how that works. So yeah, hope your week is going well. Or getting ready for the weekend.
Yeah, it's been going pretty well. Work's pretty busy lately, so but that's good.
Yeah, get how that works.
Yeah, I've just been going to the gym lately and getting sore from it because just restarted.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the pandemic loss of muscle mass is real.
Yeah, partially with that, but I mean, it always happens if you haven't gone to the gym for a while. That what is it? Delayed onset muscle something soreness.
Yeah. Yeah. So turns out hard mode is hard.
No doubt. Yeah, you have to use special strategies when you're doing hard mode. Have to be a little bit more of a speedrunner grinder.
Yeah, I had to launch the ugliest rocket that I've ever launched in my life.
Really? Even uglier than that stubby one you launched toward the end of your last career?
So the stubby one I launched had a good paint job.
Okay.
I didn't even bother to put a paint job on this one. Also, it had a redstone engine and two A4 boosters, and it had the like milk bottle nipple nose. So, yeah, it was pretty bad.
I remember launching something that looked like that. Was that your first orbit?
That was so I launched that without the boosters for first orbit, and then last night I launched that with boosters for scientific satellite. Because I don't have the light and low electricity science core yet, so I had to pack like 3 megajoules worth of electricity. It was not great, and that basically just lasted the contract duration, so I didn't really get any science from it other than 1 point of science, enough to fulfill the contract.
How long before the deadline was this launch?
Like 40 days, probably.
Yeah, skimmed that pretty close.
Yeah, so the issue is that when I accepted the contracts, I somehow like the math that I did to sum up the research time was wrong. And I thought like what I thought my research time was not at all. Like I don't know how I screwed that up. Maybe I like thought I didn't need a node. Maybe I just summed it up and got like I was off by a few, but I ended up being off by a couple hundred days from where I thought I was.
Oh geez, that's a pretty big miss.
That yeah, so I did edit the save to change the allocation of points between build and R&D, and that meant that I completed the research for the Geiger counter about 40-50 days before the contract became due. So then I managed to edit it in at the last moment. It was an 11-day edit to put the Geiger counter in, and launched it. And like I probably could have rush built the next one just barely, but I decided to not do that. So that launch vehicle will never be seen again. I'm utterly ashamed. So instead, today we'll launch the final evolution. Well, the baseline for the final evolution of the Skystreak, which is to say, the jet version. It's got a J57. Oh, right, you saw it overheating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is not a sim. This is the real thing.
Did you swap out the wings and such?
Yes, I did. So the only thing that should overheat should be the cockpit. I mean, not great, but and it's weird, and I assume it's just because it's dumping heat inside, and the heat limit inside is bad. Like I maybe could like set its skin into conduction multiplier to 0 or something silly, because like really the skin should be protecting pretty well. But anyway, let's accept the X-Planes supersonic. 400 and 450, playing with Marsh's new ever-escalating contract line. So sadly, because I did all the Mach 2 science before, and all the supersonic science real early, we're not actually going to get science from this. We're only going to get funds. Let me just double check that is in fact the case, and I didn't miss out on something. Mach 2 flight. Oh, I'm missing one Mach 2 flight. That's fine. Supersonic flight. We've got everything. Okay, so once we get into the Mach 2 range, then we'll start to get science again. But I just have to hold, I think, 400 to 450, so this will be a nice, easy first flight.
These new supersonic contracts still have diminishing returns for delaying. For not.
Yes. Yeah, they have everything now shares the same
timer.
So anti-grind, soft cooldown stuff.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense.
Yep.
What's the increase between the contracts?
It went from minimum of 350, now minimum of 400. So
that might be too low.
I mean, there's a bunch of these contracts.
Yeah, but I mean, how many years worth are you going to make people go through, even if they use the shortest cooldown for them?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's a fair point. All right, so let's get a takeoff flaps. 5 degrees pitch sounds good. We'll let MechJeb take us off because atmospheric autopilot does not know how to handle runways. I'm not sure we actually need wet. I think we can just do this on dry. That's pretty slick.
Yeah, very gentle. I probably could have waited to nose up a little longer.
Yeah, I mean, I just told MechJeb to rotate as soon as it could. I definitely could have waited some. All right, now that we're flying, let's switch over. We will switch our autopilots. I wonder if we'll be able to supercruise.
Or anything to adjust the elevator response speed. Well, it's kind of, your elevators are super twitchy. They look weird.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a way to do that, actually, in FAR's control surface code. All right. And altitude, where are we at? Yeah, we'll go to, that seems fine. We'll switch over to cruise. Oh, and we can get rid of the flaps too. Let's go to burner. Yeah, I guess we'll stick with wet thrust. Alright, so we broke supersonic in a climb, not at full throttle. That says good things about our aerodynamics. Yeah, we're super cruising in a climb. Well, no, we just dropped subsonic. We're leaving speed too fast. That's fine.
Build a far too light aircraft fuselage, huh?
Yeah, this fuselage is probably too light. Yeah, actually, so what? Let me look up the specs of the F-100. Yeah, we're definitely too light. Yeah, the Hun was 9.5 tons dry. I wonder if, I don't know. I'm trying to think if there was an X-plane that used the J-57. I don't think so.
Yeah, but it might be better to look at X-planes for their empty weight versus you know, like a fighter jet, like the X-5 that I'm looking at, which is a much shorter aircraft. So you know, but it's only 3 tons empty. That's really light. It's powered by.
It's the X-5 that
J-35.
Was that the swing? Yeah, that's the swing. Okay. Yeah, that's basically a mesh. Yeah, that's basically a Messerschmitt design that Bell built after the war.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but considering the F-100 came out in 1954 and this was an X-plane in 1951, should be comparable technology.
No, this was a dog. And it was using a J-35. Like, it was just to test variable geometry wings. Alright, so yeah, we definitely can super cruise. That's nice to know. Now I gotta wonder if we can break 400 on dry. Looks like we probably can. Yep, we can. Sweet. Alright, I'm happy with the aerodynamics of this thing. At least I assume we're in dry. Yes. Yeah, burners at nothing, and we're not even in full mill. We're at 98%. So we need to do 3 minutes of this, I think. So not only are we supercruising, we're supercruising at over 2.5 degrees alpha. So that's pretty nice. Oh, that's right. I forgot that all those early missiles got X-plane numbers.
Yeah. There's not really a good comparison for an X-plane. I mean, the X3 is garbage, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, the X4 was a delta test. It wasn't really any kind of high performance test. And it really wasn't until I guess the X-27 that there was actually a high performance jet X-plane. And then the X-29.
And this X-10 unmanned jet is decently high performing. Max speed 1,300 miles per hour.
That's a missile.
It's a missile body, but it's powered by turbojets.
It was the original turbojet version before they switched to ramjets. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like I guess you could class that as a plane, but it was rocket boosted. Or no, I guess that was just to verify the aerodynamics of the original Navajo.
Yeah, so it's basically what you're doing, except between jets and rockets.
And that was the only one that really was at all reliable. Like they actually flew that and landed that a few times. The next phase did not work out great. Yeah, there's a really nice article on the Navajo on Space Launch Report that I didn't know Ed Kyle had put together. Wait. Oh, okay. It did complete. We just have to go home. All right. Wait, it's speed-based, not dynamic? Oh, right, that's the bad one. Yeah, I should know better and just use FARS DPCA and not or DPCR. Yeah. Yeah, that's much better. Yeah, dynamic deflection seems to be speed-based rather than dynamic pressure-based, and that's bad. That's very bad. Maybe it's actually hard to say, but I trust FAR's version, like the old Ferrum FAR version of dynamic deflection. Okay, let's go home. Poor Paul, he's going to get like a 2-day extension from this flight.
Oh, it was only like a 15-minute joyride, so.
Yeah. I mean, it's 30 minutes already, almost.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, and we're like 400 kilometers away. Like, we were moving. Like, an 800-kilometer round trip's pretty, like, a decent little flight. 400-kilometer round trip, 800 total. Let's punch it. I want to see how this works.
Might as well establish the upper boundary.
Yep.
Although
exactly.
I thought you already did that.
I did that before, but I was thermally limited. Oh, the engine blew up. Fun. That's right. That was the upper boundary. I forgot that part. Oh boy. Okay. Well. Right. Okay.
Climb a bit and try and then glide it in. You're losing speed too fast already.
Why? Why are we? Oh, I know what's going on. Yeah, we're way the heck far downrange. So let's just get out to the coast. Like, we can make the coast. I don't want to ditch, but Marsh, you think max LD is actually at low? Let's see. LD is 6.3. Let's speed up a little bit. 6.3 holding. Yeah, the real problem is that with the center of mass so far forward from the loss of the engine.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little challenging.
You could dump your fuel.
Oh yeah, you're a smart man.
You're just focused on other things. It's not such a big deal.
Yeah, totally forgot about that part. And that will also shift the center of mass aft a little bit, because that tank is a little far forward. Now, if lead ballast weren't a no-flow resource, I could dump my lead ballast, but that would totally be cheating. Alright, I'm going to run right along that little strip of land. And we'll see how that works. Huh. Interesting. So, yeah, I actually want to pull up, get a little more angle attack. Yeah, now we're... Five. All right, so yeah, we want to be at about 5 degrees alpha. Yes, I think Marsh, I think we've established that 700 meters per second is the hard limit for the J57, and it goes boom. It goes boom real good.
You could have probably pushed the acceleration down a bit, because you're still accelerating pretty hard, so if you crank down on the afterburner, you might have been able to edge.
Yeah, that right. Like if I was, yeah, you're not wrong. I would have expected a better LD max.
Yeah, likewise.
Let's try a notch flap, see what happens. Yeah, it is much better without flaps. Well, like 10% better, if that. All right, I don't need far open anymore. Uh-oh. Cloud shadow. Okay, I'm going to dive steep to build up some speed because if we come in like this, our sink rate will be too high. Of course, I took the parachute off too. But the parachute's not enough to land with, just enough to slow us down. I'm actually vaguely considering ditching. But I think we'll probably go a little too fast to ditch.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, your pilot should be looking for a highway.
Yes.
For some civilian airfield, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is why we do this in Edwards.
I mean, it had 50 kilometers of glide at least to find a airfield, so it's not terrible.
Okay. Sink rate, sink rate. Way too much sink rate. Okay. That is acceptable. Okay. Well, that was a slight bit of harrowing, but yeah, 7 days and no science. Apparently, it only takes 4 hours to put it on a truck and drive it here. Let's see how long it will take to rebuild. Five and a half days? That's really not bad. Could have been so much worse. Could have been very much worse. We made an upgrade point out of it. That's nice. So let's look at some expenses. $26K to unlock an AJ10. $90K to unlock an LR79. And of course the Soviet engines are very expensive because I haven't done anything Soviet. I was going to try to go Soviet this campaign, but playing on hard, I'm going with what I know. Like, I feel like that
makes sense.
I mean, I was also thinking of splitting up. Like, I may take the RD-105 because it's a truly excellent engine. Oh, this gives me an Altair, does it not?
Very reasonable not to roleplay on when playing on hard.
Yeah. Oh, the Altair. No, the Altair's in 59 solids. All I get is a SEP motor and caster upgrades and the Baby Sergeant upgrade. Can take EDL. I can't afford it. This node is now useless. That's sort of problematic that we have a useless solar power node.
Why is it useless?
Because it gives you a solar panel that is useless because we have proc solar panels.
Right. I mean, if anything, the blue sky node should be the useless one.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it. Yeah, I think there's an argument for shifting those forward, although it will certainly shift forward when you can do for a solar satellite. But yeah, I think that's a reasonable argument. Yeah, I gotta save up for EDL.
Yeah, it's also arguable that those nodes down there are a little bit too expensive compared to the Rocket Tech nodes.
Yes. Yeah, particularly early on, I don't know. It's like hard, I felt much more gated by, like, because pads are fairly cheap, all things considered. I felt much more gated by the electronics nodes than I was by the materials nodes. Like, better rocket engine's good, but like, I built a 60-ton booster. It had decent performance. Like, it was not, throw weight was not the problem. The problem was avionics and science. Okay, so let's do our bio mission, which requires 3 kmsec. Oh, and also I need to see whether my buddy Paul's training expires. Yes, it did. Good. Because I thought I had a bug before where it wasn't expiring. But it seems like I don't. Alright, 37 days. Here we go. LC3. Cool. We'll put this back on LC3. We'll roll it out to the cheap pad. It's currently 24 tons. Oh, because I needed extra delta V. So I guess we can't roll it out to the cheap pad. We'll roll it out to the slightly more expensive pad. Oh yeah, I wanted to check settings and make sure it's not making backups. It's not, so I don't know where my backups are actually coming from. But I'm definitely getting backup saves. Okay, let's go. Okay. Here we go. Uh-oh. Oh crap, I forgot this thing had guidance issues. What is going on here?
Looks really weird.
Yeah. Yeah, that was not awesome.
So it was intended to be unguided for a while?
It was intended to be unguided for like a sec or two, because I went a little over 20 tons. I don't know why we ended up at like 24 tons. Like, that seems bad. Yeah, that range would have blown that thing sky high.
Yep.
I'm honestly impressed that it had enough thrust vector control to straighten up again. Oh, you're kidding me. Yeah, we got that was super weird. Oh, I wonder if it did something silly like fill the sounding payload.
Really shouldn't.
Nope. Not by much. I guess in the sim I got lucky.
It's weird that you went so far off prograde. It doesn't look like you're under finned there.
Yeah, yeah, I was very confused. Oh, I have a I have a hunch of what happened. I think because I had already engaged MechJeb, maybe, and so MechJeb had some thrust correction just as we separated, before the avionics locked the controls. Or it could just be random physics twitch on decoupling that screwed me over. I don't know.
Maybe, but you seem to like you were going way off prograde after the ascent had already begun rather than right at the start of the ascent, but maybe I didn't catch it right.
Yeah, that happened. Oh. No, I was going to say maybe it was going supersonic and into compressible flow that changed where the center of pressure was. But like usually that shifts it backwards, not forwards. So I don't know. Anyway, we're like reasonably fine now. What is this? That heading is like 350? Probably. Oh, no, I'm rolled over. All right, try this again. So Marsh, yeah, I know MechJeb was locked, was avionics locked. The issue was why we had the weird repeated strange pitch and yaw moments during the first little bit of flight. And I don't have a good answer for that. Like, aerodynamically, we should be fairly stable. I guess it was just that there wasn't enough sounding payload in the nose to keep us stable. Wait a minute. Oh God, this is going to be razor tight. Okay, so that's a fail. I mean, we'll solve this on the way down, but I think. Let's find out. Oh, I get no science because they're shrouded. Okay, we're 4 meters per second under the requirements. I'm going to do that one more time. Like, that just feels like a come on. Okay, so we're stable for now, and then something happens to screw us up. And I don't quite know what it is. Okay. So, Marsh, yes, I would expect us to get more velocity with a horizontal launch, except for the fact that we need to hit the we need to be over 3 kilometers per second at 140 kilometers. That is the killer here. And the more horizontal I launch, sure, like the more horizontal velocity we get, but our vertical component will be lower at 140 kilometers than it would be if we were going straight up. So balancing those is the question. My gut is that we probably should go straight up, but I'm going to try a bit more horizontal this time.
What are the contract requirements for this one?
You need to be holding 200 sounding rocket payload. Oh, which I forgot to, I'm over payloaded. You need to be over 3 kilometers per second orbital velocity at 140 kilometers.
Gotcha.
I think this one's going to fail as well. Yes. Yes, it will. Oh, no, it did not. That shocked me. Okay. Cool. Noted. So up high we go, down we come. Yeah, so definitely got to launch this thing eastward, that's clear. Yeah, the key is launching it eastward and having a little bit of east pitch, so you take some advantage of that, but I think not too much, such that you maintain your speed at 140. Because like the issue is, the lower your apogee, the lower your vertical velocity at 140. And I don't think you make all of that back. Like there's probably a point where you break even. It's probably lower than 85 degrees, but like certainly if you were going 45 degrees, I think you'd be worse. But I wouldn't swear to that. And in we come.
The challenge would just be getting to 140 if you're going to 45 degrees. But probably if you got to 140 going 45 degrees, you would be over 3K.
Oh crud, I forgot to turn off the antenna. So we lost out on a little bit of science. because we ran out of electric charge at 65 kilometers instead of 38. I mean, our apogee was over 600 kilometers, so there's a lot of horizontal we could get before we didn't top out at 140.
Yeah.
And down we come. Ah, that time it worked. Right, because CMAF pushed a fix. Yes, that is why that worked. Oh yeah, it definitely, Marcia definitely floats. Like we flew that before, the first of the advanced bio missions, and we got a minuscule quantity of science. Okie doke. Gave us an upgrade point worth. So did the last one. More R&D. Okay, so this one ain't happening until we get a heat shield. Like, we might just barely be able to do it, but I'm gonna wait and use it to fund a heat shield flight. Okay, so we're just reliant on the next one of these, which we're still getting no rewards for because it's only been 40 days.
I don't really understand the theory behind that advanced biological capsule or contract requirements. I guess it's just on the idea of getting ready for astronaut flight.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. Yeah, like this flight is, the last one was already, I think, a little bit more than the Mercury Redstones, and this one is certainly more. All right, so launch complex reconditioned. Our plane is done. So, what could I do? Well, I can do this if I want to risk flying launch vehicles that are god-awful. Like, we definitely have the Delta V for it. The key is cutting off the engine at the right time. But everything else is waiting on tech. Yeah, it's like 200 days before we get good enough tech to do stuff.
Like you passed the diminishing returns on your X-plane stuff, or I caught it real quick. Do another one of those.
Yeah, I mean, it's still have to wait 75 days for that.
Oh, sorry, I thought I saw a different one. Maybe it was X-plane's high.
Yeah, so X-Plane's high we could do, except that it requires going to 80 kilometers, and
Mm.
our cockpit tops out at 75. So that's why I rebuilt the plane to be a jet. Because I do not want to risk an astronaut life going to 80 kilometers. Also, I'm not entire, so I guess we probably have the performance for it, but it'll be tight. And I guess we do, because yeah. Yeah, we have the performance for it, but like you have to fly a pretty optimal ascent. But the real problem is that there's 5 kilometers of, oh God, are we going to die? And then there's 5 kilometers going down again of, oh God, are we going to die?
Mm-hmm.
And given that a couple versions ago I changed it to be time-based, eventually, like, you're gonna roll a 1. When it was only when like the chance was dependent on how high above critical out you were, then it was much more survivable. But now it's also time based, and so like if you spend 30 seconds above, and it really starts to add up. And I don't want to save scum that.
Fine.
All right.
How far away from you are? How far from the next tech are you? Satellite material science, you're not really getting that much on the next one.
Right. It's 200 days. Effectively 200 days. So I guess there's, other than my pride, there's no harm in building another one of these stupid launch vehicles.
Yeah, I want to see how horrible this thing is.
Yeah, here we are. Whimper at my distilled misery.
It could be worse. It could be a lot worse.
Oh, right. Like so the reason why this shape looks weird is because it matched the diameter of this. Like I took every reasonable pain I could to make it look less bad than it otherwise would. But it still looks horrible.
I'm surprised it has no fins on it.
It had fins on it. They were too heavy.
Oh, okay.
Like, I probably could get by putting the fins back, given the fact that we have tons of delta V. Because like the original version of this was I was still trying to single stick it, and I was super close. I was only a couple hundred meters per second off.
But yeah, it flies without fins, then it's fine. I'm just surprised this thing has enough control authority not to need fins, especially with that ugly. Yeah.
Yeah, these separate past max Q. But also, like, the jet vanes on this are actually fairly powerful.
Mm.
Like, as you saw from the bioflight, it recovered reasonably. So, yeah. I guess I'm going to sim it and see whether I have any kind of hope of actually cutting the engine off at the right time. Because if my ability to do that is bad, then there's no point. And we just warp a bunch. And I curse putting too many points in the VAB. I mean, the other thing I probably should do is just, even if I'm going to tool integral tanks, they're just not that expensive. So I can probably spend 50 or almost 100K funds on upgrades, and that'll make things go faster. Okay. Ascent path, 50, 30, 50, that looks correct. We'll go with 92 degrees.
Contract are you going to do once you do have the tech?
Sorry, what?
What contract are you planning to do once you have your 200 days of tech?
for a solar-powered satellite, probably. Oh no, no, I can't do that yet. So, um, yeah, it's more than 200 days of tech because I also need the next node of avionics. But the crucial thing is that I can at least start getting data on the LR-79.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's stop at stage 4. That all looks correct. Every time the boosters burn out, I'm scared it's a failure because of the sound change. But yeah, so they separate at like 10 kPa, which is really not bad.
No, I wasn't thinking that you wouldn't have control authority after they separate. I meant right from the start.
Oh, yeah.
At launch.
Yeah. Okay, and we'll get... Are we already at AOS Wallops? Not quite. We might be. Yeah? Yeah, okay.
I just feel like there's a bit of a hole here, and always has been.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, there should probably be some kind of repeatable contract that's just chucking a satellite into orbit. Because like Scout existed for a reason. Like Scout could not finally control orbital placement, but like there were a lot of satellites that just needed to be in a rough orbit with with reasonable parameters.
Or leave some of the bigger sounding rocket ones available till FSO at least.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't help me because I've already done FSO, but yeah. Yeah, I take your point.
I mean, or even past FSO.
Yeah.
I think the big exploits for having sounding rockets available have been kind of fixed by the.
Yeah.
If a sounding rocket goes to orbit, it's not a sounding rocket.
Okay. Here we go. Let's see if I can cut this off correctly. So we need to let eccentricity go through 0 and then at 0.02 kill it. Except our vertical velocity is high enough that this won't work. Our perigee will be under 300. Yeah, this is way too unreliable a way to do this. Yeah. Yeah, because without the precession, we probably could have just barely done it. But with the precession, this is what we end up with. It never actually got under 4. All right, so it is what it is. We can't reliably do that. Gotta wait. At least I don't have to actually launch this thing again. That makes me a little happier. It would have been very sad if I'd had to fly that thing again. Other alternative, trying to do this contract and make the biosamples survive 4 kmsec. Like low ballistic coefficient, lots of air brakes, maybe.
Retros.
Retros, yes. Retros could also work for sure.
I mean, if you're considering throwing that weird ass thing in anyway. Yeah, plenty of.
Yep, that's a fair point. Yeah, I could do a 3-stage basically. Yeah, I could do a 3-stage version fairly simply. Use the already tooled avionics core that supports 56 tons rather than 20 tons. Use the existing 1.4 meter, or I guess 1.8 meter 3AJ10 thing that we just played with to give us the delta V to get over 4K, and then decouple the sounding payload and fire some retro to slow us down again.
Yep.
That
you
could
can use the second stage to orient.
Yep, that could certainly work.
Is it worth it for that much of a reward?
I don't think so. Especially because it's not like we're not going to fly this contract otherwise. Like we will definitely want to fly an orbital return mission because we'll want to put this biosample in orbit for a day and then return it. And this is the last contract that'll pay us to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the answer to that is no. I've also learned my lesson, and I'm not going to accept any of these before I am reasonably close. This is waiting on avionics tech. We already talked about this one, and this is waiting on its cooldown, making it reasonable to fly again. Alright, so I think I probably just need to warp.
You could build some shells to attach an LR to it afterwards to do engine testing. That's about all.
Yeah, that feels like KCT edit abuse.
Yeah, I suppose.
Because what I'd want to do is basically I would just take the existing like the tankage is cheap. The LR-79 is what's expensive. So if I just built the tankage with an NA-75 110 under it, then like replacing that engine, but like that does kind of like changing out the like I feel like it's fine to edit to like put a Geiger counter on, but if you're literally replacing the rocket engine on a rocket stage, I mean, I did do that with the plane, but like definitely there's like recorded incidents of an X-plane having its engine replaced. Like it shouldn't have taken only 5 days, but it's a thing that happens. Although it was also sort of weird that I went from a rocket to a jet. Like that would require a redesign. So, KCT edit abuse gonna happen.
No, I wasn't even thinking of that. I was thinking for roleplay reasons, you could just build the avionics in the tank with no engine at the bottom.
I see what you mean.
Yeah,
I see what you mean.
Is.
Yeah,
but I don't know if that even buys you anything.
I think that probably buys me like... No, it doesn't, because of the way the edit rules work. I'll probably triple the cost of it or double the cost of it, and at that point, it'll, even if it's at like 80%, it'll reset it to 0.
Yep.
So, yeah, that'll just be keeping the fab line engaged. Can I optimize? I mean, I guess the other thing I can do, I have a bunch of money. There's no reason I can't just fly a science mission. Like I can just fly a straight up original sounding rocket to go pretty high, and then take like the mass spectrometry experiment up and give me more science. Mass spectrometry. Yeah. Yeah, I could get 12 science out of this. Seems good. Although, the issue there is I think it has a 2-hour runtime, so I just am not going to get much unless I'm in orbit. I mean, oh, that's one thing I can do. Let me see what flight it's set up for. Like we can at least do the Mach 2 flight supersonic
Yeah, but you don't really have to build for that.
Yeah, right. It doesn't actually. Yeah, it's set to high altitude flight. That's wrong. That's correct. Takes 0 minutes and 0 seconds. So that doesn't. So, Squirrel, there's a difference between testing with a prototype engine, rolling it back and installing flight article, and like testing with an Atlas V RD-180, rolling it back and rolling it out again with an RS-27. Like that's the distinction I'm making here. Or Merlin, I guess, is current. RS-27 pretty ancient, but yeah, like going between an RD-191 and a Merlin. That's kind of the distinction. All right, yeah. So we can warp for a while, and then I think I was saying about 80 days probably, or actually no. Like it's given that it cost me nothing to launch it because I'm launching it from the runway. I'm just going to wait until the reward is nothing, or is no longer nothing, and then I can fly it. Which means I should start Wanda training. Okay, now how's it look? I guess I want to wait a little longer. Like that's almost not worth it. Like the money I'll lose, given that we have a hard stop of about 650, 700, 450, like it's not that many contracts. So I'll let it ramp up a little bit more. Alright, so that's 7K. That feels like it's probably worth my time. Then we'll have a 500, a 550, 600, and then I think it starts to get, the jumps get larger.
Okay, yeah, if the jumps get larger later, that makes more sense.
Yeah, that's 8K. Versus 8K versus 20K if I waited another 40 days. That
like you should wait 40 days.
Yeah, it seems like I should wait the 40 days if that's the math. Wait. That's not what I expected that to be. I thought it was like 11K. Yeah, I guess I shouldn't have waited.
Weren't you going to spend some of that 200,000 that you have?
Oh yeah, I was also going to do that. I'm getting to, I probably should call it quits. I'm getting kind of tired and I'm making stupid mistakes.
Seems reasonable. I should get to bed myself, yeah. So yeah, good time to call it.
Yeah, let's make sure this was the right save to load too. Yeah, that looks correct. Alright, so yeah, I think I'm going to call it here. So thanks everybody for watching. Max, thank you for coming by. Always a pleasure.
Oh, yep, it's fun. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later. And night everybody watching. Thanks again. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.